Welcome back to yet another update on what is happening around our beautiful continent of Africa. So guys, in a recent parliamentary Q&A directed to President Cyril Ramaphosa in SA, the opposition leader, so we know that ANC is the ruling party in South Africa, and people have been complaining about it, but stories for another day. The opposition leader for the ANC, the one opposing the ANC, questioned President Cyril Ramaphosa on why he attended President Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe's inauguration. We know that Zimbabwe recently had their election, and in what the SADC preliminary report says it was election. so there were a lot of questions around the Zimbabwean election, and South Africans were also not happy because we saw in the parliament when the president was asked, why did you go there? Despite you having seen the report that SADC has given out that this election was not free, it was not fair, but you still decided to go and celebrate or be part of the inauguration of President Mnangagwa. Let's just put the clip of the video where he's being questioned, and then we'll come back with a commentary.
By aligning South Africa with the so-called members of your club, you're standing with autocrats and dictators while sacrificing the principles enshrined in our own constitution. Let's be clear, this is not about human rights or what BRICS can do for South Africa. This is about what BRICS, and specifically Russia, can do for the ANC. It's the same reason you attended Emerson Mnangagwa'S inauguration. You're willing to give false legitimacy to ZANU-PF because you know full well that your own party is following in their footsteps. Mr. President, do you care nothing about the suffering and deprivation experienced by women of Iran and Saudi Arabia and the people of Zimbabwe who are now shackled with an illegitimate election which your own SADC region has cast aspersions on? Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, our association with a number of countries in the world is based on our own policies. We make it very clear that our foreign policy is based on a number of principles, one of those being human rights, and in associating with various countries, we do not have a holier-than-thou type of approach. We actually communicate very clearly what our policies are, and through exchanging views, through outlining what our own positions are and our principles and values, we hope and trust and work for also a deep understanding of our views, and also hope and work for them to be able to see what it means to adhere to universal values, such as those enshrined in the UN Declaration of Rights.
The SADC Observer Mission report on the Zimbabwean election has been handed over to Hakainde Hichilema, the chairperson of the SADC organ on politics, defense and security cooperation. The SADC Observer Mission has since expressed its reservations on the recently concluded harmonized elections. The regional observer team flagged voting delays, the banning of opposition rallies and bi-state media coverage as concerns.
Okay, so as you have seen in the response of the president, I think it was a good question because there's just so many things amiss with Zimbabwean election. If you're Zimbabwean, let us know what you feel about the election. Do you feel it was free? Do you feel it was fair? What's the situation really? Do you feel it was rigged? You know, as we have seen in the report, preliminary report from SADC Observer Mission.
So the SADC Observer Mission was led by the president of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema.
Yes, sir.
And the report, Hakainde Hichilema leads the organ of the SADC which deals with politics, defense and security. And he's the one they submitted the report to. Now the report saying what was happening. And they highlighted three things. One, there were delays.
There were delays in the polling.
Delays in the polling stations.
For the ballot paper, sorry.
Number two, there was like the
reporting.
The opposition was being kind of restricted
from
doing
rallies
rallying,
and yeah.
And number 3, the media, the Zimbabwean media,
ZBC,
was biased in the way they are reporting the opposition.
So if it's anything to do with ZANU-PF, it's glorified, it's positive. It's if it's the opposition, it's just negative reports about the opposition.
Yeah. So if you're in Zimbabwe, let us know if that was the case. And
what do you think, really, from your from the media? Was it something? Is it true that they were only reporting the good about ZANU-PF, and then from the opposition rallies, were you guys free to hold, rallies and talk freely about
their unfairness in the way people are conducting their rallies? Or did you observe anything that was amiss? Back to Parliament.
Okay, so President Cyril Ramaphosa trying to defend himself, for me it was just a ramble, as you have seen in the clip. So he was like, South Africa is guided by foreign policies on how they, they
local policies on
how they relate with foreign countries. So these are the foreign policies that bind them to how they behave. For example, if it's an inauguration, if the policy says you attend, it's the policy that is said, it's not him. So, and then he also mentions that they also go with the Human Declaration of Human Rights, for example, that guides them on how to conduct themselves. So honestly, he was not straight to the answer. Also mentions the equality that they give to foreign countries. He mentions that when they deal with foreign countries, there's no holier country than thou. There's no holier than thou. So if it's Zimbabwe, whatever is happening on the ground, they don't care. They just attend because of the foreign policies that abide them.
But I have a question. The SADC, South African Development Community, the observers said this election was not fair. Why don't the Election Commission of Zimbabwe conduct another election? That is one, or the opposition can go to court for that.
So this was a preliminary report from what I'm hearing. So there has to be another final report that will say. And in this preliminary report, as you have seen in the other clip where the guy reporting from Zimbabwe mentioned that they gave out recommendations on what would be happening from there. So I do think that because of that, already, I don't know, because the president has already been inaugurated, does that mean that we continue?
Yeah, that's what happens. Until maybe the court says, no, let's do it again. But I have another question. If it were you, you are the president of South Africa, Zimbabwe is a neighbor country, and maybe this how the way you relate in business, in all those things, and you have been invited, would you say, no, I'm not going to come? Because this is not president to president, this is country to country. You are representing South Africans in Zimbabwe. Would you go?
Imagine, for me, it's very unfair, and Ramaphosa will forgive me, because in South Africa we see a lot of Zimbabweans being harassed, xenophobia, a lot of Zimbabweans get affected. So for you to now get up and say, this is a president, I'm supporting you, and you are not protecting fellow Zimbabweans in South Africa, is very unfair for me.
But he's not supporting the president.
He's doing what? He's being abided by the foreign policy.
Yeah, he was invited, and he just went to say South Africa came, because it's like any other president in the SADC region who would decide, because I've been invited, I don't care what happened, I'm just going to.
But there's a report, and you being part of SADC. If it was Kenya is not part of SADC. Maybe they can say we are not abided by what SADC has to say about this election. I am President Ruto, I'm just going. This one is part of SADC.
So they would have waited for the main
Exactly, he would have just said, from what SADC, and SADC being a body that puts everybody under one umbrella, I should have said, because SADC has said this, who am I to go against the SADC report?
Okay, this the preliminary report, and this like the final. Why don't they have the final before the inauguration?
That's my question now. Why did they inaugurate before?
If they say this is the final and it's not fair, they should not be the president.
Exactly, we go back to
we
the ballot.
recommend that you go back to the ballot. Then they do that.
That is what any democracy would do, honestly.
Yeah, so,
So,
I think there is a lot that meets the eye. The only people who can tell us the story are people from South Africa,
Zimbabwe.
people from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, mostly.
Zimbabweans can tell us about the election, and South Africans can tell us what they think of Ramaphosa going to the
I was
inauguration
telling about
of,
Ramaphosa. That was very much. I think he didn't think that it would be such a big issue.
But was he the only president who was there?
I don't even want to care because him being part of SADC and South Africa being messed up when it comes to treating Zimbabweans, he should have evaluated. And then there's a report that says this thing is not fair. Why don't you sit and look at all the circumstances? If I attend and this thing has been deemed unfair, unaona, it would have been something for him to say. Like what? Maybe in our next story, guys, watch our next video. Why President Museveni did not attend the current ACS? Because he sat down and evaluated. Is this even worth it? No, it's not worth it. Maybe I should sit for a report. There's a report that is coming, a final report. Why rush to say, we are behind you, Amandla, Mr. Mnangagwa? It's unfair.
So it's all the president who went there, especially those from the South African Development Community.
Do we even care? President Ramaphosa, uburong baba, and you need to apologize, I think, even to the people of Zimbabwe for attending an election that was deemed very unfree. Is that something like
Unfair.
that? Very unfair by a whole SADC body. I know, Mnangagwa. Please, we don't know what you guys think about this video. Let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you in the comment section. And what should they remember about next week? This week, actually.
We are hoping that by the end of this week, we have reached 1,000 subscribers. We keep updating you on what is happening in Africa and beyond.
See you in the next one.
Bye bye.